I know before you even listen to me, you'll all think I have no morals, that I did this after losing my daughter, but I believe everyone would have done what I did. I'm 52. My daughter's husband is 31. Age difference didn't matter. And what happened between us is what we both wanted to happen. She's died 4 months ago. Her husband still comes every Sunday, but now he stays longer, gets closer, and I let him. 3 weeks after we buried Emily, he stood on my porch holding a ceramic pot, soil still dark and damp, roots wrapped in burlap. "She wanted these for your garden," he said. "She ordered them before." His voice stopped the way voices did now when they hit that wall. Before. The word that meant everything. I took the pot from him. Our F's around the cool ceramic, and neither of us moved for a moment too long. Grief makes you forget the rules of contact. Or maybe it makes you need them less. "Come inside," I said. "I'll make coffee." He shouldn't have stayed, but he did. That was 4 months ago. Daniel came every Sunday after that, sometimes Wednesdays. Occasionally he just appeared, like the night the storm knocked out power across the whole county, and he showed up at my door, rain dripping from his jaw, asking if I was alone in the dark. I was. I always was. "Candles are in the drawer by the stove," I told him, stepping aside to let him pass. He knew where everything was. He moved through my kitchen like he lived there, and I watched him because that was what I did now. I watched him. The way his shoulders had gotten leaner these past months, the shadow of beard he didn't used to wear. The gray appearing at his temples that wasn't there when Emily was alive, as if loss had aged him forward into a man I didn't quite recognize anymore. He lit 3 candles and set them on the counter. The flame caught the sharp line of his jaw, and I looked away before he noticed me staring. "Have you eaten?" I asked. "Have you?" The deflection told me everything I needed to know. Neither of us ate properly anymore. We pretended not to notice this about each other, then cooked too much food, and sat across a table that used to seat 3. I was 52 years old. My daughter had been 28 when the car crossed the median on a Tuesday afternoon. Daniel was 31, and there were moments, terrible, quiet moments, when I forgot he had been her husband, and not something else entirely, something I had no right to name. The rain intensified against the windows. Daniel moved toward the glass to watch the storm, and I moved to the stove, and the distance between us both correct and completely unbearable. "The gutters are overflowing," he said quietly. "I should look at those tomorrow. You don't have to keep fixing things around here." "I know." He turned from the window, and the candlelight made his eyes darker than they actually were. Emily had inherited my eyes, pale gray, almost colorless in certain light. Daniel's were brown, like coffee, and they settled on me with an attention I had started dreading. Not because it was unwelcome, because it wasn't. "What would I do if I stopped coming here?" he asked. The question sounded simple. The answer wasn't. I turned back to the stove. There was garlic to mince, pasta, water to boil. My hands needed occupation, or they would betray me. He was behind me before I registered his footsteps on the tile. Not that was the rule. We hadn't spoken aloud, but both understood completely. He stood close enough that the heat of him radiating against my back, and I kept mincing garlic as if my pulse hadn't just doubled its rhythm. "Let me help," he said. The words landed against the back of my neck. I could his disturbing the small hairs there. The fine hairs along my nape rose in response, and I gripped the knife harder. "I've been making pasta for 30 years, Daniel. I know." He didn't move away. "But you're going to cut yourself if you keep holding the knife that tight." I looked down at my hand. My knuckles had gone white. The garlic was already pastied beneath the blade. I set down the knife carefully. He reached past me slowly, deliberately, and turned off the burner I had forgotten about. The flame died with a soft click. The only light remaining came from 3 small candles and the occasional flash of lightning through rain-streaked windows. "We should talk," he said. "We talk every time you come over. Not about this, not about what's actually happening." I turned around to face him. Mistake. He was closer than I had calculated, and my back pressed flat against the counter's edge. His hands came up not to me, but to grip the counter on either slower than I had ever heard it. I know exactly what this looks like from the outside. I know what peep about us. What people? Everyone. Anyone who found out me 6 months ago, I would have said it too. Said what exactly? He didn't answer directly. Instead, he looked at me the way you look at something you're trying desperately to memorize before it disappears. "You look like her," he said finally, his voice rough. "But you don't. That's what I can't make sense of anymore. You have her voice sometimes. Her laugh, the way you tilt your head when you think someone's being ridiculous, but then you'll say something she never would have said. And I remember you're not her at all. You're someone else entirely. I'm her mother. The word should have been a wall between us. It should have stopped everything cold. Instead, it sat in the charged air like a confession neither of us had wanted to make. I know exactly who you are, Margaret. My name in his mouth. It was the first time in months he hadn't called me Mom, that casual, borrowed title. Margaret. 2 syllables that sounded completely different in this light, in this impossible proximity, in this storm that kept us locked together. The power might be out all night. I said it wasn't a deflection, it wasn't an invitation. I genuinely didn't know what it was. I should probably go home. You shouldn't drive in this weather. We were negotiating something without naming it, every sentence like a move on a board. Neither of us would admit we were playing. "The couch," I started. "I've slept there before." Silence stretched between us. Lightning flashed, and his face was illuminated for one brutal second. The exhaustion carved into his features, the naked want in his eyes, the confusion of a man who didn't know if his grief had transformed into something else. "I miss her," he said quietly. "Every single day I miss her so much it like drowning. I know, I miss her too. But I come here for you." He swallowed hard, and I watched the movement in his throat. I keep telling myself it's to close to her memory, but it's not. It hasn't been about that for months now. I lifted my hand slowly. I didn't him. My palm hovered over his, close enough to radiating through the fabric of his shirt, close enough to count his heartbeats if I just pressed down. I held it there, suspended in the space between intention and action. He stopped entirely. "I don't know what this is," I whispered. "Neither do I." "She would hate it. Maybe." His wrapped gently around my wrist. Not me closer, just holding, keeping my hands suspended in the almost. Or maybe she would understand that grief isn't linear, that people who loved her might find each other somewhere in the wreckage. His thumb moved slowly across my wrist, directly over the pulse point. One deliberate stroke. The sensation radiate through my entire why. We ate pasta at the kitchen table with candles flickering between us. We didn't again that night. We didn't need to. Something fundamental had been acknowledged, and the acknowledgement itself was its own form of intimacy. At 11, the power finally returned, the sudden fluorescent intrusion tea like an accusation from the normal world. "I should," he started, "stay." The word escaped my mouth before I could catch it. His eyes met mine across the table. "The roads are completely flooded," I added quickly. "Justification? Permission." He nodded slowly. "The couch? Then the couch." I was halfway up the stairs to my bedroom when his voice stopped me cold. "Margaret." I turned. He stood at the base of the stairs, one hand resting on the banister, looking up at me in a way that made my ache with something I couldn't name. "Thank you," he said softly, "for not making me leave tonight." I didn't ask what he truly meant. The house, the kitchen, whatever was growing between us like something wild. "Good night, Daniel. Good night. I have just one question for my viewers. If you were in my place or her husband's, would you have done the same or not? Just comment down. I'll talk to you. And don't forget to subscribe the channel that entertains My Daughter Died. But her husband stayed for me.